Robbie Weeds here. Wanted to just talk a little bit about spraying in cold weather, the positives and negatives. I'm actually in favor of spraying, in cold weather. I think you can control some very difficult weeds that under normal conditions are more difficult to control, especially weeds with very extensive root systems. The positives being right now, as the grass is still green, it's cold, it's the late fall, but things are still growing, at least beneath the ground layer. They're about to go dormant, and as they're about to go dormant, they're trying to store as much energy as possible. So if you spray them with a herbicide that's systemic, they're going to take that herbicide and suck it right into their roots as they're storing all they're taking everything, nutrients, water, they're storing it, everything in their roots, just like fertilizer now. That's why it's also a great time to do fertilizer, because they're not going to take all that energy and put it above ground. They're taking all that energy and putting it below ground into roots instead of above ground into foliage and leaves and things like that. So now with that, using ester formulation, you always get better performance in cold weather. So if you're using a 2,4-D ester or spiking it with this is an example of a triclopier ester. That's my preferred. They're oil-based. You get very good penetration through the cuticle as the cold weather. The foliage are starting to go dormant, so they're not taking in as much as they would be a few weeks ago. So getting it right past that first obstacle, once you get into the vascular system of the plant, I think it's well worth it to switch your chemicals around. Cool Power, it's a formulation of esters. I don't believe it's 2,4-D. I think it's dicamba, triclopier, and something else. But Cool Power, it's an ester formulation meant for spraying when it's a little colder. Now, days like today, where it's cold in the morning and a little warmer in the day, water acts differently at colder temperatures, so you have to be careful. Usually I can't spray until it's above 40-45 degrees. So some mornings I'm paying for breakfast, and that's just kind of how it is. I have to make sure that my equipment's going to run right, and also storing the equipment overnight. And you can see I have water tanks that they can't be full overnight if it's going below 32 degrees. Now those are inconveniences that I have to be cognizant. This pump also, it needs to either be drained or brought inside. So all these chemicals, this spray tank, it's things you have to think about. Now if you're willing to use a spreader sticker and use ester formulations and get out here while it's cold, because it's not fun to spray water. You won't see a lot of people power washing their house when it's cold out. It's not fun. But if you're willing to do that, weeds like Canada thistle that has very crazy root systems, that it seems like the second you kill the ones you have, double the amount of new shoots pop up. Ground ivy, wild violet, all these with very, very difficult to control root systems, where it seems like you can never catch up to what is popping up. I believe you get the best control when in this fall spray. Now I would say the best time to do it is right around Halloween until maybe November 15th. I would say that's when I get my best control, just because that's when the temperatures kind of dictate that everything's going dormant, and you get, I think, the broadest spectrum of weeds really preparing for the winter, and that's when you're going to get the best control. Just making sure that I'm in southeast Pennsylvania, and that's the dates for me that I have the back of my head that I need to be spraying and get as much done in that window as possible. But I do think it's worth it to have a couple inconveniences to get really good control. And a lot of times those weeds are expensive to control in the spring and summer because it takes multiple applications, where if you can time it right and use the right herbicides in the fall, you can knock it out with one and start nice and clean in the springtime. So that's just my thoughts on spraying in cold weather. Robbie Weeds out.